Hello there, I'm Jennifer Sen and I'm a pregnancy loss recovery coach. I help women and their families navigate their way through life after the loss of their babies from either a miscarriage or stillbirth, and do it in a healthy way that honors them as well as their baby. Today I want to talk about the guilt that is so common when you have a loss. It was something that was really in the forefront for me, and it took me many years to work through it. It wasn't really until I got coaching on it myself that I was able to release it. I feel guilty. Guilty for that one glass of wine I drank before I knew I was pregnant. Guilty for the time I cried when the doctor told me I was having twins when one baby seemed like a lot more. Guilty for the 1 or 2 loads of laundry I did after the doctor told me to be on bed rest. Guilty for being the source of everyone's sadness when we told them there were no babies coming. Guilty that my husband had to choose the burial plot and pick out a casket because I was too numb. Guilty that I wasn't showing up as the mother I wanted to be to my boys because I was swallowed up in grief. Guilty that every time I laughed, I was somehow being disloyal to my baby. Guilty that I can't be happy for my friend when she announces her pregnancy. Guilt is a major player when it comes to pregnancy loss. It shows up in so many different ways that it may be one of the hardest things to deal with. We often blame ourselves and our bodies for failing to properly carry our babies to a healthy entry into this world. And the guilt for what we might have done differently or better sometimes consumes us. I truly believe that the safest, most nurturing place a baby can be is in the womb, and that biology is quite forgiving of that cocktail or two we drank, or the little extra things we did out of habit that maybe we weren't supposed to do. It showed up for me again during the days of my loss. I was induced for 3 days with no results, so it ended in a C-section late on the 3rd day. It wasn't what anyone wanted, but I knew I had to do whatever it took to get this initial nightmare over and return home to try to put myself back together into some semblance of a mother for my other 2 children. I hated that my family was waiting around for it to finally be over. I hated that my husband had to try to be everything for everyone in the midst of his own grief. And I felt guilty that the surgery team came in late at night to do what was certainly not a rewarding, happy occasion. The guilt continued when I got the news that my friend was pregnant. I wasn't truly happy for her, partly because I was jealous and partly because I thought she was being too presumptuous to assume she would give birth to a full-term healthy baby, since that scenario is forever tainted for me. If I had only given myself the grace and compassion I needed, I would have realized that my body was the perfect vessel to carry my babies as long as it did. God has a sense of humor, and why not 2 babies instead of 1? And my babies were so very loved before they were born by everyone, including the medical team, who made an awful out-of-body experience as gentle and kind as it could be, as they cried that night right along with me. I'm so blessed to have the love of a man who would put aside his own pain in order to serve my needs at the time. My kids were happy to have their mother there in any way, shape, or form, and were an integral part of my healing by forcing me to get out of bed and pretend life was normal, at least from their perspective. And my friend was terrified to tell me she was pregnant for fear of upsetting me. I was too wrapped up in my own pain that I didn't stop to consider how the other people around me felt. As time went on, I realized that this experience has actually given me some gifts. The gift of being grateful for the children I had and the desire to be an amazing mother to them. The gift of appreciating my body for all it has gone through and its incredible strength. The gift of knowing I was never alone in my journey because my husband shared it with me, although his journey was somewhat different. And the gift of being a compassionate, kind friend to those who went on after me to have healthy babies, or more important, needed my understanding in their own experience of loss. In my coaching practice, one of the most effective modalities I use is visioning. I love visioning to see what could have happened differently and what the results might have been. What the baby would be thinking if they could tell you what they're seeing. And my favorite one is handing them off in heaven, or whatever your destination is, to another loved one to care for until you are reunited again. So if there's any chance you can relieve yourself of the guilt you're feeling and start to see maybe there's some beautiful parts that come from your loss, that's when I think you're truly honoring your baby, because they're here for a brief time to teach us some very big, valuable lessons. And by staying bitter, we waste that gift from them. Allow yourself some compassion to see what bright spots might be around, even when it truly feels like you're drowning. Your sweet baby wants you to have an amazing life and to live it out fully, without shame, without bitterness or regret, and definitely without guilt. I'd love to invite you to send me an email if you want to learn more about how I can help you. And be sure to download my free ebook, The 10 Questions You Ask Yourself When You Lose Your Baby. I have the link in the description. And if this is helpful, please leave me a comment and be sure to subscribe for weekly content that I hope is helpful to you as you navigate your baby loss.